Hi, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time. My name is Amanda, and we're going to be talking about the Chestnut Ridge romance series. If you saw my Southern series or whatever it's called, that was probably Blue Mountain Resort is probably what it's called. Anyway, that was a series of 5 books with 4 boys, 4 brothers, and a sister. This one is going to be 4 brothers and a little add-on kid brother. With some sister-in-laws thrown in and nieces and nephews. And anyway, let's just jump right in. Book number 1 is called Flawless. And we have a bull rider whose name is Rhett. First of all, these all take place in Alberta, Canada. So much different from North Carolina, where the last one took place. But as you can see from the cover right here, we have a bull rider, or we have a little bull. Anyway, Rhett is our bull rider, and he has been not making the best decisions. And so his manager has given him a babysitter. What Rhett doesn't know at the beginning is that the babysitter is actually his manager's daughter, Summer. So Summer's job is now to follow Rhett around and make sure he makes better choices. And so as he is being babysat, of course, sparks fly, things happen, and we get to meet the best extended family that I think I have ever read about, beginning with Rhett's dad, Harvey Eaton. He is the absolute best, and I will continue to say it through the whole thing. He might be the best thing about the whole series, but I love him so much. And we meet him when Rhett brings Summer back to the thing to be like, back to the ranch where they live, to be like, we're just going to be in the off season right now before I have to go back and ride bulls. So he's training. She's working with him. He also has a mentor-mentee relationship with a little guy. He's not a little guy, but with a younger guy named Theo. Theo's dad died riding a bull. And so Theo has decided that he's going to follow in his dad's footsteps and be a championship bull rider. Rhett wants to win one more title, even though he's already won 2. And everybody's like, dude, you're old and you need to stop. He is so old, in fact, that Summer, as a teenager, had a poster of him on her wall. So that's how long he's been bull riding. He's not that much older than her. He just started at a young age. Anyway, none of that matters, except, of course, they fall in love. And, of course, there are things that happen during this babysitting period. The other thing that we find out is the dynamic with Summer and her family. Like, she works for her dad at his agency, but his dad's wife, who is not her mother, is a doctor or a surgeon, and her daughter, Winter, Summer's half-sister, they have the same dad, and Winter is also a doctor at the same hospital. So we find out all of those people as well. They are not nearly as cool as the Eaton family, so let's just stick with them. Now let's move to book number 2. That is my favorite of the whole series, Heartless. We are introduced to Willa at the very, very beginning of this book when a pair of panties fall out of her purse in the grocery store. This reminds me of a story that my grandmother told me one time. And I'm going to say this because my grandmother's no longer with us. She would be super embarrassed if I said this while she was still here, but she's not going to be embarrassed. She said that after she had given birth to all of her children, which was quite a few, like back to back, okay? She was walking in the grocery store one time and her underwear just fell down because they had stretched out so much over her pregnant belly that they were just too big and they fell down. And she said, you know what I did? I stepped right out of them and kept right on walking. Which I think is so funny, especially if you knew her at all. So anyway, this woman, Willa, has dropped a pair of panties in front of Cade. Cade might be, like, I don't get, like, oh, I have a book boyfriend. Like, I don't get those kind of feelings or thoughts or whatever. But I'm sorry, Cade Eaton has stepped right to the top and is the best. He is so grumpy, which I normally don't like grumpy sunshine dynamics either, but this is more like grumpy, snarky dynamics, and I am loving it. I love Willa. I love Cade. Cade is a single dad to a little boy named Luke who has just the worst mouth. And everybody's constantly like, Luke, watch your language. And then they all say whatever they want to say around Luke. So of course Luke's going to say what he wants to say. Anyway, it was my favorite. It was so great. He hires her to be the nanny for Luke during the summer because Luke is not in school and he needs somebody to watch him around the house. And in steps Willa. Sparks fly with Willa and Cade. The best. The best. Also, of course, Harvey's there. They all live on the same property. So we get more of Harvey Eaton. We get to see Rhett coming back and Summer's in there. And we meet the other brothers. Well, we meet the other brother named Bo, and then there's kind of an adopted brother named Jasper who just kind of came to live with them when he was a teenager, and then we, of course, still have Theo, who was with Rhett. So we still have this extended family that's all there, but Bo is in the military, and so he comes home, and then he leaves, and then he comes home, and then he leaves, and we'll get to him eventually, but Cade and Willa, my favorite. Book number 3, Powerless. This is maybe my least favorite book in the series. This one is about the family friend Jasper that was semi-adopted into the family. We find out why Jasper was living in a car or whatever he was living in, and Bo was like, no, you're going to come live with us. So he moved in with them as a teenager. He is a professional hockey player, and the kids, the boys, Rhett, Cade, and Bo, the siblings, their cousin is named Sloan. And Sloan would come there during the summer and hang out with them and just be around the family, and then before she went back to her family. So Jasper met Sloan when he was a teenager and she was a teenager. There is a little bit of an age difference. It's not huge, I don't think, but it was more of like, I'm 23 and she's 18 and that feels weird when they first started like noticing each other. So they've always just been best friends, and he has gone to support her. She is a prima ballerina, so she's got all kinds of ballet stuff happening. He's got the hockey stuff going on, so they've always supported each other and they've been best friends. And this one starts out with her wedding and things happen, and we find out at the end of this book like how she found out about the things that happened. I didn't love the two of them together. This is not my least favorite book, actually. This one is next to my least favorite. My least favorite is still coming up at the end, but this one was okay. And I don't like the unrequited love, or like I've loved you from afar and now all of a sudden something happens and you're like, oh, wow, I love you too. Let's go. Like what? Why didn't you see that the whole time? So those are a little bit weird for me. I did like what we learned about why he had been pushing her away, or not pushing her away, but not picking up on everything. We did kind of learn some of those things. And also we learned some things about her dad and her mom and Harvey. Harvey is the dad of all the boys. Harvey's wife, who passed away, and Sloane's mom were sisters. So they already knew each other, but we get to find out more about what's going on with Sloane's parents, her mom and dad. There's some issues happening there, and we get to see what happens with that. We, of course, get Harvey at all the family dinners. He always provides the comedic relief, and it's always so funny to me. Like, somebody was complaining about one of the jokes in this one. I thought it was so funny. Like, it made me laugh every time I heard it. And when I read their review, they were like, they talked about that too much and it kind of grossed me out. I was like, I thought it was hilarious. So anyway, I guess people just have different senses of humor. But that's book number 3. Book number 4, Reckless. This one, did I already say that I had a favorite? Because this one might be my favorite. I love Theo. So again, Theo is the protege bull rider that's been working with Rhett. And now Theo is about to win, or on the edge, on the verge of winning his first championship title in bull riding. And he comes to family dinner, and Summer, remember from book 1, has a half sister named Winter. And Theo and Winter literally almost bump into each other. Sparks fly. They are fighting and arguing, and that's how they meet each other. And then they proceed to have a one-night stand that results in things that sometimes one-night stands result in. And we find out, I'm not going to say anything else because things happen in this one, and just Theo, like literally just who Theo was from the beginning of this book to the end. Like, he is the best person possible. Like, she writes him in as like being the perfect person, which I thought that's annoying a little bit. Like, why are we never having issues? And then there comes a time in the book where he's like, I can't do this. And Winter, that he's in a relationship with, Winter's like, finally, like, you can't just be this perfect person and never deal with the things that I know have to be happening below the surface. And so it was fantastic. Also, the thing with Winter, like growing up in that household where she did, with the mom that she had and the dad that semi paid attention to her, and feeling like she didn't deserve to be loved, or she didn't know how to be loved. She just knew how to work and work and work. And so she's a doctor. He's a bull rider. They're the best. The dynamic of this one, the actual character development of this one was the best. So good. But then it brings us to our last book, Bo and Bailey is who this is. And Bo is the military person. He got stranded and was missing because he went back to get the person that they were supposed to be rescuing, and the rest of his unit left. And he was stuck there for 2 weeks while they waited on rescue with the person that they were supposed to be saving. So his feet, he had to run out, and his feet got really hurt. So we find this out in Jasper's book is when Bo goes missing. And then in Theo's book, we find out that he's better, but there's something wrong with his feet. So his feet got burned, and he had to do surgery and do skin grafts and that kind of stuff. But the way they handled the PTSD in this, I did not love. Like, it was like things that I would do to say, oh, I'm better. No, you're not. You've just covered it up. Like, you've not gotten to the root of what the PTSD issue is, and that part is not solved. You've just put something over the top of it that brings your attention away from this thing. And that's not solving a problem. Like, once this is no longer here to be your cover up, then this is exposed. That's all I'm saying. And I don't like it. Bailey was supposedly raised in a horrible environment. We never see her try to come to terms with any of that. She is from the very beginning like a 22-year-old. He's 35. She's 22. And they spend the whole time harping on that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let it go. Let it go. No, he will not let it go. It's mostly Bo. Will not let it go. She does not act like a 22-year-old. If you read me her lines in this book and said, how old do you think she is? I would have said 19. I would have been like, she's 19 or 20. I feel like 22 should be more mature than Bailey was. And I don't know. I didn't like it. I wanted them to, and also, I'm sorry, it was a fake fiance situation. Don't take my favorite trope and then jack it up. Like, I was sad about it. That's my favorite trope. You can't take my favorite trope and mess it up. But they did. Or she did. Anyway, I'm sad this is the last book. And if it was not for Harvey and his comedy, this one would have been way, way worse than it was. Because I just didn't get anything from Bo and Bailey. We got no internal work on the two of them. It was just like, oh, I'm Bo and I have problems, and I'm Bailey and I have problems. But when we're together, we don't have any problems. That's not how relationships work. Anyway, okay. I'm going to be done now. I loved the series overall because it gave me Cade, and it gave me Theo, and it gave me Willa and Winter and Harvey and little Luke and then little baby Vivian. Like, oh my gosh. The positives outweigh the negatives on the whole scope of the series, and I highly, highly recommend it. Django is yelling because he feels like it's time to eat. So I'm going to cut it off right here. Let me know if you guys have read these and what you thought about these books. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Bye.